Today I have Maggie Sopic with me. So, a little bit about her. She is an evidence-based chiropractor and functional medicine provider. Maggie is the owner of Re.Center Chiropractic Wellness and Functional Medicine in Boalsburg, Pennsylvania. And you just moved, right, Maggie? So, where's the new address?
Yep. So, my office is still within Boalsburg. I am on Main Street.
Okay.
I have to think there's been so many moving parts.
It's okay. I
One,
can put it in the show notes at the end or whatever.
sure.
I knew
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just made a move, so I wanted to make sure they had the right place.
Yes. I'm on Main Street in Boalsburg.
Okay. So Maggie's practice focuses on helping people move and feel better by combining hands-on chiropractic care with root cause, whole person approach to health. And while she works on a variety of patients, she is especially passionate about women's health, including gut health, hormones, metabolism, and helping people better understand their bodies through education and sustainable lifestyle changes. So outside the office, Maggie enjoys going outdoors, hiking, kayaking, and exploring somewhere new. And she also loves to cook and share approachable ways to make healthy eating enjoyable rather than overwhelming. Maggie's goal, both in practice and in life, is to show that good health doesn't come from extremes. It often comes from consistency, simplicity, and meeting people right where they are. So, Maggie, again, welcome. Thank you so much for your time
Hi.
today.
Thank you.
I don't think I had this in the script, but I do ask every guest, what is your favorite drink?
Oh, dang.
It's just a little icebreaker question.
Yes. I mean, I am a coffee drinker. So today I'm gonna say coffee.
Yeah.
It's my favorite drink. And I just put a little bit of cream in it.
So, Maggie, can you share a little bit about like how you were raised and what brought you to this point in your life? Like just a little
Hmm.
testimony and just what made you have like this goal to be a chiropractic wellness
Yeah.
and holistic and functional medicine.
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town, Clearfield in Pennsylvania, and I am one of four girls, so I'm the youngest of four girls. And so yeah, we were very I can't say we were like delicate girls. We were very involved with sports, loved activity, loved like doing things so much. And so the world of, I would say, sports definitely was, popular in our household. And with that comes a lot of discipline, because not only did we prioritize, as far as like movement, but education was also very huge in the household as well. So just becoming more well-rounded and integrating our faith in our family was, just a very just was very prioritized. And then as I got older and in my senior year of high school, I actually ruptured my Achilles playing basketball. And
Ouch.
yeah, it was a bummer. A lot of people will say, like, I've heard that's like the worst pain. And honestly, I was just more angry at the time
Mm-hmm.
because I thought someone kicked me from the back. And so I was just like, what in the world? Like, when I like got up, I was like, who kicked me? But in reality, I ruptured my Achilles in that time. So that was, always looking back at those times, like it was a pivotal moment, and as far as like I would say prioritize like my, I guess, status as being like an athlete, and you just never know when something's going to occur. So I was like pretty hard on myself, and also questioned as to like why that was occurring, because especially for like my age, I was 17 and tore an Achilles. It's not That's not a super common population for that to occur. So I also was like, that's when a lot of curiosity began, just with overall health. And then just there have been so many other life experiences. I actually ruptured my other Achilles like years later. So that even then more so promoted the like, okay, what is going on? What's going on with my body? And helped kind of go into that more, I will say, musculoskeletal, physical health aspect. Um, and I did see, in high school, I saw a chiropractor at the time, and I will say she was the one that really paved the way as far as my interest in chiropractic care. She seemed to be the first person that wasn't looking just like directly at the like area of concern. She was like, "Oh, well, what about like how is this area moving? How are you feeling here? What about this?" And I was like, "This is a foreign concept. Like, this is wild that you're like asking all these other things." So I was like, okay, I'm very interested into this. And the fact that you can wear like athletic clothes during work is also another factor that sounds really cool. So that all of those aspects I'm probably going to give you the longest answers for everything, so you can cut me off.
No, it's fine.
um, but yeah, all of those, situations and scenarios, along with just my time through undergrad and chiropractic school, have like paved the way to where I am now.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to head into just some like health questions that relate to mostly to your practice, but just to help my guests too, because I'm all about healthcare, holistic and functional wellness, finding the root causes. So that's something that's very important to me, and I know that chiropractic just plays into that side of healthcare. And I mean, as always, this is not medical advice. Make sure you do your own research. You're talking to your doctors about what's best for you. But why are hormones so important for women's overall health?
Mm-hmm. And I'll pick on, just because there are tons of hormones in general, um, when, especially on the side of like women's health, I'll speak on reproductive hormones,
Mm-hmm.
but all hormones are very important for women's health. Uh, they're helpful, and I mean, it's helpful to understand in the sense of kind of going back to that little comment I made about, sometimes we really just look at like the main area of concern. So when we're talking about reproductive hormones, we tend to just go right to like say like ovaries or breast tissue, just like the where
Mm-hmm.
we can automatically associate. However, there's multiple receptors on various tissues in the body, that all different reproductive hormones affect. And there's like these kind of sequence and, I should say like a hierarchy of how hormones are responding to different stimuli and different environments. And so, it's easy to kind of see, like if we're having hormonal issues as far as the typical like, uh, menstrual irregularities, or during a transition time of like perimenopause or menopause. It's kind of easier to be like, oh yeah, these are my hormones, but there are other symptoms and signs that could be of like a hormonal, issue.
Okay. This wasn't one of my questions, but do you see a lot
Yeah.
of women like have low testosterone, or have you ever heard of like the yem pellets? They're like a natural way to get testosterone in your body, like if you're going through
Oh.
perimenopause and stuff. I don't know if you
Oh.
ever heard of those. I just recently heard of it from somebody, and I was curious about that.
Yeah. Yam pellets,
Yeah.
like
So
wild.
a show I listened to,
Mm-hmm.
um, she had it sewn into like her hip area. And I
Cool.
guess it releases the testosterone just like in slow amounts
Hmm.
as you need it. I don't know. I thought that was
Interesting.
very interesting.
I've heard of like wild yam for progesterone, but
Okay.
no, I am curious about this. I do see very commonly, low testosterone in
Okay.
individuals. I'm not to say that that's the only, like trend that I see, but, yes, it is very often. In fact, like this week, actually month, has seemed to be low testosterone in every individual, and they're all different ages and like different times of their lives though too. So yeah, it's definitely been that month. So I yeah, now now that we're talking about this, I definitely want to look a little bit more into that. I don't know.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest hormone imbalances that you see in your practice?
So I mean, I will say like more of a physiological imbalance would be like the, perimenopause and menopause, and that's more so where we're seeing the shift of the reproductive hormones, all of them, essentially progesterone and estrogen mostly, are going down. Perimenopause, that estrogen is going up and down and up and down, trying to figure out where where it's going. And I would say even during the reproductive years, well, and also going into, I would say, perimenopause. Uh, a common one, again, speaking mostly on reproductive hormones, would be that there's seems to be a higher amount of estrogen in the system compared to progesterone. So there's always that term that's thrown out, the estrogen dominance. And what we're more so, what I'm more so looking at is how is estrogen and progesterone, like they work in a team system. I mean, all of the hormones are working in a symphony, and we with when there's a higher amount of estrogen in the system, because there's a lot of estrogen receptors in our body, we can notice other symptoms as far as like heavier cycles, irregular cycles, changes in mood. So I would say that's probably the most common one. And we can also see that going into perimenopause or menopause, where it's a little bit harder of I'll say like a balancing act, because we still want to support estrogen, and it's not that estrogen is bad. We just need, again, like a good balance of these hormones.
What ages are you most commonly seeing perimenopause?
I will say as young as, in my practice, as young as like early 40s,
Oh, okay.
and then into, I mean, 50s. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
What symptoms do women often dismiss that could actually be hormone related?
Again, speaking on reproductive hormones, I would say a lot of skin issues, as far as not necessarily like maybe the typical of like acne. That can be hormonally related for sure. But even like itching of skin, or loss of elasticity, or that like collagen production, that's a common one. Um, Cognitive function, as far as like brain fog, memory loss, or a lack of focus, that can be can't a factor can be reproductive hormones, and also sometimes the changes in like um, I'll say energy, but overall like energy as far as energy output, like say if they're moving a little bit more or lifting weights, and they see that there's like a change, and it seems kind of like out of nowhere, quote unquote, where they're like,
Hmm.
I used to be able to lift this amount, and now I feel like I'm like way more depleted. So that can be a factor, can be your reproductive hormones.
Okay. How does stress and cortisol affect our hormones? And are there any remedies to help regulate this?
Yes. This is going to be one that you can just say cut. uh,
Yeah.
so this is a hot topic, and even like the term
Hmm.
cortisol, I know, is like,
Hmm.
so how I'm going to like kind of like maybe need to hold someone's hand through this is that um, cortisol and stress in general. So if we are noticing that we are not having a capacity for any more stressors, that as far as like it could be physical, emotional, mental, all of the above. And if we are signaling cortisol to continuously have this like output, our body is going to prefer to approach that stressor or stressors than have like a great period or basically reproduce a baby. Like our bodies are very smart, and so if we are trying to run away from something or approach something, that's the top priority in our nervous system. And so again, our bodies aren't going to prefer to have this like wonderful like symphony of hormones that are being produced. Ways to regulate this. This is where it can be sometimes, again, I think it's a little bit more maybe in the media, where we see and hear like cortisol is like the enemy, but in actuality, it is just another hormone. It's not bad or good. We need it, but it's what's going up higher up in the chain. So there is this pathway that we have. It's our hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. No one needs to remember that. All more so why it's important though is because our brain in the hypothalamus is getting this input. That's where it starts. So working on, I'll say, nervous system techniques, and that again can be a whole lesson in itself, is, I will say, remedies for it. So if you're feeling, maybe very hyper reactive to any scenario where you're like, that maybe to a typical person where you feel like pretty well grounded, balanced, like maybe that's not a situation I should be like reactive. Maybe there's techniques as far as, I'll say breath work is always my go-to. But breath work doesn't always necessarily change the perception. All like breathing for 5 minutes once a month isn't going to change previous trauma or whatever it may be. So remedies that I'll kind of maybe condense are going to be some nervous system approaches as far as breath work, being in nature, community, laughing, being hydrated, eating whole foods.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to hear this answer quite a bit.
Yeah. Things like grounding, which are my favorite. Being in community is a big one. I see a lot of people just nowadays wanting to isolate. I don't know if that's like a COVID thing or
right.
something else, but it's almost like nobody wants to be in person anymore, which is crazy. But what are some natural ways women can support healthy hormone balance? I know you said it's probably all this really the same things, right?
Yep. Essentially, yeah. Moving their bodies, and all of this can sound like very general advice, and it is again kind of going back to what how you even kind of introduced me, is that there's beauty and simplicity, and it's just creating that consistency with it. So moving your bodies in enjoyable ways, eating.
So would you recommend I know for me, they're saying, because my history of cancer, they're saying like strength training's the best to just be preventative. So what, like, is that what you suggest, or just any movement?
I love this question. I think like the baseline is absolutely get enjoyable movement in. Like there's such medicine to movement. That's the baseline. If we can, in which I would also again like prioritize lifting heavy things. That could be like more of a structured exercise, like strength training regimen. It could also be like your child is 10 pounds. That is your weightlifting. Like, so yes, I think lifting heavy things is also needed to tax our muscles, because muscle is like the the organ of longevity. So,
How do
yeah.
you feel about weighted vest? I just invested in
Oh,
one.
oh,
I haven't
sure.
used it very often, but
Yeah, I
I see
mean,
them everywhere.
yes. I think they can be an added benefit to your everyday routine. There have been a few studies as recently, and I would have to go back and look because I don't even want to speak. I slightly don't want to speak on that, but um, because there has been like such a craze, but
Mhm.
I still think there can be a benefit as to adding load to the system to like whatever you're already doing and having that like tax some of the muscles and tendons. So I mean, I'm for it as long as what I have noticed as a chiropractor, though, too, is that sometimes depending on like how they're situated and any other changes and like how you're introducing it and the frequency of wearing it, just making sure it's comfortable on your body though too and not causing like pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into gut health. This is one of my
Okay.
favorite topics.
Hmm.
Why is gut health considered the foundation of overall wellness?
Yeah, great question. Well, wow, yeah, we could go on a tangent and I probably will. So, um, I mean, there's just so many aspects here. So,
Hmm.
gut health, I think, can be kind of quickly associated with just digestion overall, which is correct. Um, but our gut is, as far as like the gut microbiome, is even starting with our nervous system and how we're like perceiving anything in our environment, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but basically our perception plays a big role in basically stimulating like how we are going to absorb anything and creating all of the like juices as far as breaking food down and beverages down and where we're absorbing it. So that concept in itself is the like a grounding foundation for all of the other aspects of our hormones out and our nervous system. There's that bi-directional pathway. So absorption is super important. How we're perceiving this, and the actual like structural integrity of our gut lining, because I'm assuming many of your listeners, and if not, that we have the concept of leaky gut,
Hmm.
where that basically intestinal wall can basically like slowly separate, and where we can get things like food particles into the bloodstream, or different, if we are on any medications that can go into the bloodstream. So things that don't need to be in our bloodstream can, due to that like kind of leakage of the intestine, like a structural change in the gut lining.
Okay. So what are some signs that someone's gut may not be functioning properly?
Mm-hmm. Kind of some hallmark signs are going to be digestive issues that can be like easily connected to someone if they're like, oh, and I'll also highlight some of the things that we may deem as normal, but aren't necessarily like healthy.
Hmm.
But if someone's not having a daily bowel movement, if you're noticing like bloating pretty consistently, that's I would say close to even eating, or if it's like going on throughout the day. Any skin issues, um also mood, like I well mood changes that can be also related to your gut. um I mean, in that sense, cognitive changes. um I'm sure I'm missing like 10,000, but yeah, we can connect some digestive
Hmm.
issues along with some other like external issues though too.
Okay. What would be, I, well, in my opinion, I think the stool test would be the most beneficial test other than, I mean, I think that's better than blood work, but is that, in your opinion, the best test to do, like just to test your gut health?
I do. I do it quite often in my office. As far as, yes, like with testing goes to see like data points,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I think that stool testing is one of the better parameters to look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of foods help heal the gut, and what foods commonly contribute to inflammation?
hmm I'll start with the ones that commonly contribute to inflammation, and it's going to be the ultra processed foods
Mm-hmm.
that have different additives, preservatives, and essentially those. um, and so, why that is because those foods, or even like artificial sweeteners, they can really break down, they truly can break down the intestinal barrier that I spoke on just a bit ago, as far as like breaking down that wall and having a little bit of that like um, kind of leakage going on, or that
Mm-hmm.
separation of those tight junctions. So some foods that can be supportive are going to be just the opposite. So whole foods are going to be a great option if someone can obtain that. There's not like one specific food that I would, say is going to be like the best. Just if we can get a diversity in these whole foods, that's going to be the best. If someone is noticing like an intolerance to a whole food, maybe something that can also be a sign that maybe there is something going on in the gut. And that's not like it's a problem. It's just, okay, that we can utilize that as a little bit of information. But in general, whole foods and a diversity of whole foods are going to be very helpful for your gut.
So, what about probiotics? Do you think that they
Yeah.
are for everyone, and on a long-term basis? And what are your favorite
hmm
ones?
Okay. Um, so probiotics, I was trying to think of the practitioner that made this analogy, but it was really helpful. So probiotics, yes, are like the good bugs, and they are really helpful. We can compare them to like just tourists of different, of a different city, where there's good seasons where we, could really utilize it. They boost the economy, and then they like kind of head out. So I don't think necessarily that we need them long term, or like have to be on them forever. There are obviously cases that they can be very supportive, and we can also get, if someone can tolerate fermented foods, that's a
Hmm.
great option as well. um
I
my,
heard that. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
oh
cut you
no,
off.
no, you're
I
good.
heard that fermented foods could also be a histamine issue. Did you hear of that?
Yeah, and that's I see um I see a lot of histamine in intolerance slash overload um, in my practice. So this is where it can get challenging, because if we're getting, if we're hearing like, oh, all whole foods are great, and they generally are, and it's nothing to beat yourself up about, though, too, if someone's like, when I have fermented foods, I feel worse,
Hmm.
because they have a fermentation process. And so that can be really irritating to those that have a difficulty of breaking histamine down. And same deal with certain cases of, if there's an overgrowth in the small intestine, fermented foods can be pretty triggering, because they have like they can produce a lot of gas. And so
Yeah.
if there's that can be, a little irritating as well. So
Okay.
yeah, this is where, yeah, it's always case by case.
So, like, what, I don't know if it would be symptoms, but
Yeah.
I guess that's the word I want to use for histamine
Sure.
issues. Like, what would you be feeling? Because this is something I want to watch. I just went and
Mm-hmm.
saw like an allergist and an immunologist just because of my history.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have allergies, but I also like they didn't really want to do food testing because they can be so like iffy on the
Mm-hmm.
results. But it's like I want to know what I'm allergic to because I don't want to be eating them and causing extra inflammation that I don't need to be causing. So what should we
I
be
see.
looking for when we're eating the food?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So um when it comes to histamine, it specifically, it is a very like quick reaction. So there can be like you may notice like a runny nose or some like skin irritation, whether it's like a rash or like even just like slight bumpies. Um, uh, Brain fog, like very quickly after the food can occur, or even just like a mood changes, or there's a lot of mood disorders connected with um, histamine intolerance. So I would say, or even like needing to clear the throat a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. Those would be like the top reactions that I would be aware of when it comes to a difficulty with like histamine, and whether it's like, this is where, we can dive into the nuance a little bit, but it's, asking like, is there a difficulty with breaking down histamine? Like, because there are enzymes that we need in our gut and also neurotransmitters that we utilize to basically like break histamine down. And so, or is it just like, are we having an abundance of like, overall histamine in my body is just like very like reactive of it. So those would be like the main signs and symptoms to be aware of.
Okay.
And they would be like pretty quickly noticeable, I would say.
Yeah, because I had told her I had like the prick test done a long time ago, and I told her
Mm-hmm.
that there were a couple of foods that showed up on that. And I told her it's not like a severe reaction. It's just like I get the phlegminess, I get the like all the
Mm-hmm.
sinus issues and stuff. And she didn't seem too concerned with that. She's like, I'd be more concerned if you were having like really
Like
bad.
anaphylactic,
Yeah,
yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but still,
You're like, I'm still
if
reacting.
I'm having those
Yes.
reactions, it's causing inflammation. So I wasn't too happy about that, but I didn't really get clear answers on that. So I love how you answered that. What are the most common gut health myths that you hear?
Oh, kind of. Maybe I even like alluded to it, but that you need to have like digestive issues in the sense of having like any gut issues. I think that's like the top myth. Just
Okay.
because like, as I kind of mentioned earlier, there's so many functions, and like
Hmm.
breaking down what we're putting into our system and absorbing it. Well, we need like all of those nutrients and whatever we're putting into our system to affect whatever we need it to affect. So sometimes it doesn't show up to be digestive issues at all. I have numerous patients that are like, no, I go to the bathroom every day. I'm not bloated. Like I like, yeah, no obvious digestive issues, and that's not in like a fear based sense though either. Not to say like if you have whatever symptom that you're doomed and that we have to do this whole gut repair. But in the same sense, we still want to make sure that you are breaking things down and absorbing and supporting like the overall integrity of your gut.
Yeah. How does insulin resistance develop?
Oh, well, I'm currently doing a course on this.
Oh, are you?
Um, yeah. So love this topic because it is like one of the foundations of health as far as like blood sugar metabolism.
Hmm.
So insulin resistance, it's not just, although like there are many factors that go into this, and it's not just something that occurs overnight. So um, as far as like the main factors that do influence insulin resistance are going to be, our age, genetics, ethnicity, our stress management, resiliency or capacity, movement, nutrition, stress management, um, our environment, whether, depending on like what environmental exposures that we may have. So all of those play a role and can cause, or, basic, I don't want to say can cause, but can over time, yeah, cause, I guess, insulin resistance.
So, if you had a lab test done, like I usually get the IGF-1 done every 6 months. Just I
Mm-hmm.
have I've done some research, so I do random labs every 6 months to stay up
Yeah.
with my preventative care. But
Yeah.
Like even say if that came back normal, can you still have insulin resistance?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would be curious as to, the markers and panel someone is having, because there are some other ways that we can, on a data sense, confirm if insulin resistance is occurring. And so, we would want to be looking at, I do like IGF-1, and then insulin itself, or if someone is saying getting a lipid panel and looking at the triglycerides and HDL, like there's a ratio with that as well. So look, looking at the whole picture and looking at the data as well, and the majority of most conditions, again, not all, but many conditions, we can trace back to insulin resistance. So it's, again, dependent on the condition. Most of the time we can say, okay, if we know that this condition is occurring, most likely there is insulin resistance occurring as well. So breaking down those factors.
Okay. How can we train our bodies to stop being in flight or fight mode? Because this is one that I suffer with all the time.
Yes, it is. It's not an overnight thing.
Yeah, I mean, I even try to be, I mean, my faith plays a big part. So even
Yeah.
like just trying to be in the Bible and reading God's word every day, we all, I mean, we're all human. We all struggle. It's
Yes.
something I pray about, but it is something that's very difficult for me.
Yes. It is very difficult, due to a multitude of factors. There's societal factors, there's like family dynamics, occupational factors, and the majority of all of these factors require or seem to require us to be on at
Mm-hmm.
all times, and rest is not like appreciated. um, and what's very interesting about this in our, like, on the terms of our nervous system, is we are why it's really challenging to quote unquote get out of fight or flight,
Mm-hmm.
is because creating a little bit more of this like restful state. And not to say that we should not feel calm all the time, that's not really like the goal.
I wish it
But
was.
right, yeah, I know. and I mean, essentially, like, not that it's the goal, but just that we can easily flow in and out of states, like without
Mm-hmm.
this like hyper reactivity where we're like, oh my gosh, like everything is just like, at this heightened state. um Honoring where and understanding, like, the first sense of this is being, having that awareness piece and being like, oh my gosh, I always feel like I'm on, like I can't stop my brain, and I notice it in my body. And then that's the start of it, is just being aware that we are in fight or flight and not judging that we are. The next is like then creating some options and choices as far as like how to quote unquote get out of that. And it's not easy because our, again, society really condones, getting things done, having these timelines. And it's creating these boundaries for ourselves and understanding like what is my breaking point? Like, I can't do this anymore. So I'm going about this in a million directions,
No,
which
you're okay.
doesn't help. I'm just like this, just our society, just like it makes me
Mm-hmm.
mad, just how like we have to
I
be on
know.
all the time. So creating ways that, basically, where we can be in a restful state, and that looks different for everyone. It could be creating, or creating boundaries, which also are going to feel really, everything that you do to get out of fight or flight will probably feel really uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
because your nervous system likes safety and comfort, and being in fight or flight, that's its normal. And so to get out of that, we have to do uncomfortable things. And that could be sitting in silence,
Mm-hmm.
That could be not actually doing something on the to-do list and doing something that you're like, I want to do and I want to enjoy this, and basically not living by all of these shoulds all the time. Um, I know, again, this is not like concrete clinical advice in that sense, but it's just such a like overtaking. Has not, I shouldn't say overtaking, but it's just a little bit more of a long haul mindset, because it's not just like a supplement or a pill that we can be like, oh yeah, now I feel calm all the time. Of course, there are like supportive measures and supplements and medications that can help. But it's the really hard stuff where we have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. So how can women advocate for themselves? Like, say if their labs come back and everything's normal, but they're still feeling like garbage. Like,
Right.
how can they advocate for themselves to, I don't know, get more testing or just actually
Yeah.
finding like what's going on?
Yeah. Great question.
I think it's a
And
big problem for a lot of people, not just with labs.
yes, I totally agree, because we're still kind of left with this like uncertainty, like where even in the functional medicine side of things, like people could still feel lousy and their labs could be optimal, quote unquote.
Hmm.
And so this is where I would advise any human, any woman to have these honest conversations with whoever they're working with. And you can do this in you sometimes we can get very heated with
Hmm.
these like, conversations, but it is to approach it, in the sense of like just wanting some like guidance and curiosity with this. And so I would advise whoever it may be to have these conversations as far as like, hey, I see that you noted that my lab work is normal, but I'm still dealing with these issues. What are the next steps in this? Or would you advise me to see someone else? Would you advise like additional testing, because I'm still having these symptoms? And I also, and maybe the provider may say, like, may have a care recommendation that doesn't align to that person. And
Hmm.
I think being honest and transparent with that, like, patient to provider, as far as saying, like, oh, like, I appreciate the recommendations that you gave me, and they don't really align with, like, my values. Is there, like, any other options? And if that provider is like, this is all that I have, and kind of shortchanging them, then okay, then that person doesn't align to you or that, that patient, and maybe to seek other care elsewhere, which I know can be a whole rabbit hole in itself. But that
Hmm.
would be the main conversation. It's just to be open and honest and being like, hey, this isn't enough for me. Like, I'm still dealing with these symptoms. Like, I need a little bit more. What can you do as a provider? Or if you can't do it, where do I go next?
Okay. What are three things or advice you would give to a cancer survivor?
Oh, yeah. So, and I will say I don't necessarily um, work. So I want to, I guess, clarify that, again, this is not medical advice, just
Hmm.
because my main patient population are not, they're not undergoing, say, any like cancer treatments or whatnot, though, too. So I appreciate you saying like cancer survivor, and also I know that you are one. So, um, so
This is for me. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
advice is for me.
yeah,
I'm not currently undergoing treatment, praise Jesus. I'm considered no evidence of disease right now.
congrats.
So yeah, this advice is just for me. Like I said,
Okay.
talk it over with your doctor, do what's best for you. But I would just like to know your advice.
Yeah, yeah. So again, I know all this will sound general, but it is like creating consistency with it is
Hmm.
nature, being outside. And I know you even mentioned like love grounding, and I
Hmm.
absolutely love that. Just like no shoes, being in the grass,
Yep.
hugging a tree, just being in nature, being in the water. That's my number one. Um, The second thing on, I would say, a maybe like nutritional front is getting a diversity in colors. There's
Okay.
just so much power to phytonutrients. So
Hmm.
fruits, veggies, whatever you enjoy and can again tolerate. that there's a lot of healing in the diversity of the colors in our food, and a lot of like antioxidant support though too. The last or the third thing, there's again, a laundry
I
list,
know.
is going to be support, in whatever. And when I say support, again, that could be general and the support that you feel is most priority to you in that moment and that you value, whether that's emotional support, and that could be throughout the community, could be your family, could be a licensed provider, whether that's like, nutritional support, just having some, whether it's one person or a group, having that support, because I'm sure during any process of most diseases and conditions, especially cancer, during the main, process, and you're still processing as a survivor,
Yeah.
can feel like, okay, well now I'm at this point, like, I guess I'm good. Like you still could have this like, um, I don't mean to say like emptiness feeling, but just almost like, well, I guess I'm
Oh
done.
no, it's definitely
You
like an
know,
emptiness feeling. Like I feel isolation, I feel PTSD. It's like all the things.
I'm.
It's like it's almost just like, okay, we got you through this part, you
Mhm.
survived. This part,
Check.
just bye,
Yeah.
move on. Like,
Yep.
nobody supports you. They expect you to go back to your regular lifestyle, and
Hmm.
the treatment fatigue is so real. Like
I.
I would say probably like a year, little over a year out from being completely done with everything, and
Yeah.
I still feel it. Like I am not my regular self anymore.
Sure. I'm sure that, and I'm sure just your listeners and, people that know you and surrounded by you, like how helpful it is to share your story though, because yes, the heightened experience of, going through whatever treatment someone, chooses to go through and goes through, that's not the end of the journey. Like,
Hmm.
it's not it. And this is in many conditions, or, trauma in itself, where it's like that's still ongoing. That's still a
Hmm.
process. And now that, the main condition is, healed, but there's still a healing experience. So
Hmm.
like it's never just like a check mark, like, oh yeah, we're done with this. There's, more to come. And that's not like like more to come, but it's just
Hmm.
a new approach, or a new vision for it.
Yeah, because there's so much trauma, and just like every little pain that you feel, it's like, okay, what is this? And then you get scan fatigue and fear every time,
Mhm.
anxiety every time that your scans are coming up, and it's a lot. And I don't think people realize like just mentally how that plays on you, and it's just crazy. But is fatigue just a normal part of getting older?
No. No,
Amen, sister.
it's not.
So what should you be doing if that's what you're feeling and you just think, oh, it's just my age, I'm just getting older? Like, what are some first steps you should take?
Yes. Um, I would say, in any sense, like if someone can, and this is just honestly with most symptoms, tracking it, and whether that's like write a mental note, I would say maybe pen and paper, or like a notes app, whatever, tracking it to see if there's any patterns. As far as like when you're feeling most fatigued throughout the day, or if it's like a time of the month, or is it like all of the time, 24/7, and it's like consistently, is there a pattern? Can you make any sense of it? That would be the first step in like understanding, because fatigue can be such a like, general symptom, that it could be
Hmm.
due to like blood sugar metabolism. It could be due to like an energy deficiency, meaning maybe you are not fueling enough. I know this has personally been an issue for me, where I'm like, oh my gosh, like as simple as, and I know as dumb as it sounds, like hydration, or
Yeah.
literal like nutrients that we still like, there's just such an output that and this goes back to the whole fight or flight, that it's like constantly on, and that could be also physically and mentally that we are like outputting. We do need a source of fuel. So, and that could be like a balance of it though too, and making sure like the balance of micro or macronutrients and micronutrients. I would start with those aspects. I know that can sound a little daunting, but basically like symptom tracking as far as like timing of fatigue, and then understanding like the energy in, energy out, as far as like physical, mental, and then nutritional.
Okay. So I like to ask my guests these 3 questions. And the first one is, what is your favorite Bible verse?
Oh yes, I actually wrote, and then when you asked this, I was like, this is like asking what's your favorite song.
I
So it's
know.
just literally every day. But I this no, it wasn't in a Bible study, but this was like in July. That I don't. This one just like it just kept kind of resonating in my mind. But it's 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 14. David was dancing before the Lord with all his might. Um, and you know, right now it's kind of my favorite, mostly in the sense of like, no matter your status, um, there's just so much joy within the Lord, and so like this isn't in the sense of creating like toxic positivity, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
still like, regardless of everything going on, we can like fall back on our faith and find joy and hope in that. And that again, there's moments that can feel just like so daunting and tough, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
to dismiss those. It's just that there's still we can fall back on the Lord and our faith to persevere and get through those times.
Yeah. And our joy truly does come from the Lord. It's not anything found on this earth. We're not supposed to be of this world. So I think that true joy is from our Lord and Savior. Um, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would that be?
Oh my gosh. I would. Oh wow. Okay, my younger self. I would just tell my younger self to just lose the judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Just lose the judgment, and also just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Losing the judgment in myself, I should say.
Yeah. What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Um, that is a
I
a
know,
major
it's a
question
doozy.
too. Holy smokes! Okay. The legacy that I would like to leave behind is um to kind of, I would say, to not complicate life as
Mm-hmm.
much as we can. And not that moments aren't serious. It's good to have priority in situations and to care about things. And in the same sense, we just put so much pressure on ourselves and others, and just have fun.
Mm-hmm.
We sometimes forget to do that. Just, and this is
Yeah.
like definitely, in this time frame in our society, but it's just to like relax.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be okay. And it's that those reminders, and there are so many moments that I'm so aware of that can feel like it is not going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But in any moment to like create fun if you're not already having that.
I love that. Let's have a little fun with rapid fire
Okay.
before we close.
Okay. Okay.
Favorite way to reduce stress?
Breath work.
Yes. One health trend you wish would disappear?
Oh man, yeah. I read through this and I was like, all of them. Um, the this, I'm gonna get so much heat probably for this, but currently the health trend, I would say the abuse of GLP-1s.
Yeah, amen. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Yes. Sauna or cold plunge?
Okay, sauna. Yes. Rapid fire. Maggie. But sauna.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Favorite restaurant?
Yeah, this one was also a really challenging one. I love food. So, right now, Revival Kitchen, Reedsville,
Okay.
favorite restaurant. Have you ever been?
Okay. I have not. I'll have to check it out.
Yes.
Do they use seed oils? Do you
No.
know? Oh,
It's yeah.
okay. I'm
So,
definitely gonna check it out.
everything like it's an experience. Like
Okay.
yeah, like it's above and beyond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite way to relax?
I guess this kind of goes hand in hand with breath work, but I'm more so like painting a picture in my mind as far as like relaxing. I would say front porch coffee in the
Mm,
morning.
oh. And one word your friends would use to describe you?
um, I would think they would describe me maybe as like giggly. The
Giggly. Yeah.
way, yeah.
Well, Maggie, thank you so much again for joining me today.
Oh, thank
I love
you.
talking health and wellness. It's one of my favorite topics. I loved your expertise. How can my listeners find you or connect with you, your
Yeah.
business, socials,
hmm
whatever it is?
Yeah, I'm a little more active on Instagram. My name is Re.Center Chiro on Instagram, and I'm not really active on Facebook, but I'm active on there. And then I do have a website, Re.Center Chiro, that they can visit. And there's also like an email list that I don't bombard emails. It's just like a monthly newsletter. So multiple ways that they can contact me. But yeah.
Okay, and the class that you're doing, is that where they can find it as well? Is on your website?
Yes, yeah.
Or is
It's
it
all open.
closed?
Nope,
I
it's
didn't know
still
if
open.
you,
They
okay.
can, yeah, they can access it. Like it is there.
Okay. Okay,
Yep.
good to know. I'll list
Yeah.
all that in the show notes just so everyone
Oh,
can find
thanks.
you.
Okay.
To all my Joy listeners, I want to thank you just for joining today's episode. I hope that you found it encouraging and just helpful resources to help you through whatever health journey that you are walking in. Be sure to reach out to Maggie with all your healthcare needs and chiropractic care. If you can, leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's greatly helps me. I appreciate that everyone doing that. You can also download the episodes and listen to them later. If you can't listen now, you can hit the follow button. That's going to update you when new episodes release. You can also reach out to me if you're interested in coming on. It's gmrickner@icloud.com. You can also follow me on gina.rickner on all social platforms. But as always, go out and find the joy today. Bye, friends.